And we're also going to make steak and gravy to go with it. Let me just tell B that we're live. Because I think she's getting ready to come home and she'll probably make a bunch of noise when she does. We're trying not to have that this morning. Okay, so first order of business, we're gonna make biscuits. And that is a stick of butter, that is salted butter, 3 cups of self-rising flour. And there is a YouTube video that we shared earlier this year showing you how to make just the biscuits. So 3 cups of self-rising flour. And I gotta grab my pastry blender. Is it gonna be yummy, this Susie? We have the baby here today, the baby girl, not the baby boy. So I'm just gonna use my pastry blender to break up this butter and get it into, I hate this loose handle, and get it into the flour. And we just want to get it to a gravelly texture. Get the butter broken up kind of small into the flour, and then I'll grab the buttermilk and we will make the biscuits. Look what a mess I made right there when my handle slipped. My best advice to you is if you can find a Rada pastry blender, do that, because it won't have a handle like this. See, this is what allowed it to slip. Say hi to Susie. Susie's waiting on her gravy and biscuits. Her said her was gonna be a good girl. Yeah. While I make them. So again, so far all we have in here is 3 cups of self-rising flour, a stick of butter, and I'm gonna add a pinch of salt. A good generous pinch of salt. We're just gonna break up all this butter till it's, see, this lump is still too large. That's the reason I'm still going. That's still too big. And I've got a lump stuck in my pastry blender. You can do this with your hands, but I hate the feeling of flour, so I don't. I only mess it in it when I have to with my bare hands. My allergies are killing me, you guys. Let's see what's going on here. We still got a little more breaking up to do. So this is a Pampered Chef pastry blender, and as much as I love Pampered Chef, I don't like their pastry blender. I would 0 out of 10 recommend it because it's kind of fragile. The handle slips frequently. Okay, we're getting almost there. See? Small gravels of butter. And also this butter was not softened, so don't use softened butter for this. Your biscuits will be flat. Okay. I think we're there. All right, let me grab the buttermilk and a wooden spoon. I'm not going to grab a wooden spoon. I'm going to grab my Roto-Whisk. Take the spring off of it. Now I've got a dough hook. There we go. Now, we're going to add a little bit of buttermilk. I don't measure. So we're going to add a little bit, stir a little bit, and then add a little more. And obviously that was not enough. That was just to get us going and see what we had. Okay, this is still not enough. You've got to get all the dry flour combined in. And I'm going to show you what to look for. See, I really ultimately want you to learn how to cook without measuring. And if you end up with a dough that's too wet, you can sprinkle a little flour in. It won't hurt, I promise. And I'm sorry for like breathing the way that I am. My allergies are going to be the end of me, guys. You want a kind of wet, sticky dough. We're not looking for a dry dough. I'll check in on the live chat here in just a second. So we have Mark home today. He's home every Friday, so we're making a big breakfast this morning. And I will not be live to make dinner this evening because I'll just make dinner off of YouTube and it'll go much faster. That's the reason I'm doing the breakfast this morning instead. Okay, you see this? It's a sticky dough. That's what I want. I think a lot of people like really overcomplicate how to make biscuits, and it doesn't have to be that way. Let me grab some flour and sprinkle out on this board. Then we're going to turn them out. I'm going to show you how I cut them. And I don't roll them out, I pat them out. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've never seen anybody make biscuits on YouTube that I thought looked worth eating. Or not YouTube, but Instagram. I always see them and I think, God, those look so dry. They look so tough. Dry biscuits ain't good, people. This is the secret, is you don't have to make them layered and you don't have to fold them over 33 times. It's easy. So just dump your dough out on the board, just like so. See how sticky it is? It's that kind of sticky. And I'm going to make these in a cast iron, so I want to pat them out into a round shape. I'm just sprinkling some flour over the top. I'm going to go wash my hands real quickly so I can get all this dough off. I'll put it down here. Then we're going to pat them out and cut them. And I'll show you exactly how I do it. clean hands. I'm just gonna pat down my biscuits. No rolling pins, no rocket surgery here. Just gonna cut them into a round shape. And the reason that I'm doing this, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna put them in this pan. So I want that round shape to be roughly the size of this pan. I'm not cutting them with a round cutter because I don't wanna have to fool with them 33 times. If you overwork this dough, your biscuits aren't good. So, I'm patting them down. They're about that thick, all the way around. And yes, the biscuits are all gonna be a different size. It'll be okay. They all eat the same, don't they, Mark? He's over here giving commentary to somebody else, I believe. Okay. Melt the butter into the pan. Swirl it all around. Now I'm just gonna pick up these biscuits. First I'm gonna brush them off a little bit. Because I don't want them to be floury. I don't need all that on the top. I just needed it to push them down without getting it to stick to my hands. Okay, there we go. Let me grab something to get these up. So I'm just gonna go under, just like so, biscuit, into the pan. And I'm gonna work my way around the pan in the shape of this dough, because I made the dough about the size of my pan. Now the other thing that I see everybody in the world do on social media is they don't make their biscuits touch. Your biscuits should absolutely touch. If they don't touch, they don't get as tall. They hold on to each other and they climb. Okay. Let me move this out of the way. Alright, now we're going to brush the tops of these with some more melted butter, which I'm out of, so I have to go get some more melted butter. So I'm just going to melt a half a stick of butter to brush over the top of these. It's really easy. Baby, will you? Okay, Mark's going to melt it for me. So then we're going to brush that over top of this, and then I'll pour the excess over the top of it. I'm going to preheat my oven to 425. Actually, I wanted to bake a little slower, so we're just going to 400 today, because I have other things that we're going to make. Grab another cast iron. We're frying country fried. Yeah, you think that funny? We're frying country. Shh. We're frying country fried steak to go with the biscuits and gravy. So first, we make the biscuits, because the biscuits take a minute to bake. Then we country fry the steak while the biscuits bake. Then we make the gravy. So first up, our country fried steaks have to go into milk first. Then they'll go into some seasoned self-rising flour. Let me put a little milk in here. There we go. In goes the tenderized steaks. If you're not Southern, I can hear you gasping all the way from here. Milk and meat, oh my God. Well, this is how we do it. Okay, so this is in there. Now we're gonna get our flour and I'm gonna show you how we season it. Now we have a cup of flour on this plate. And over here, I'm just gonna be melting some here. Lard in the skillet. Before I forget to show you what I'm doing, I'm literally gonna just pour this melted butter over the top of the biscuits while we wait on the preheat to happen. And then I'm gonna brush it. And I'm gonna turn that bowl face down to drain into the pan I'm gonna fry these country fried steaks in. I can't see your comments yet because I'm cooking too hard, guys. Okay, give me just a minute. If you're commenting, I'll look. I promise I'll look. All right, so there's a whole stick of butter in it. Now there's a whole stick of butter around it. I promise. If you don't eat them often, you probably won't die of a heart attack. It'll be all right. Okay, so I'm gonna set these aside while we wait on the preheat on the oven, and we're gonna get busy on the flour for the country fried steak. All right, I'm gonna bring this over. We're gonna put a little bit of lard in it and start melting the lard, and then I'll show you what I'm doing to the flour. If you want white lard, strain it twice before you, or strain it twice in before you put it in your jars. Okay, now let's season up. The flour that I'm using for the country fried steaks is self-rising. So I'm just melting lard in my skillet. I'm gonna add, this is our fried chicken blend, because ultimately it is kind of just chicken fried steak. It'll be okay. If you have another seasoning you prefer to use it. means, you're welcome to season your food however you like. Just make sure you season it plenty or it won't be very good. I find that that's the problem with most people when they're cooking at home and they're not really experienced, is that they under-season their food. And then they wonder why it didn't taste like Mama's or Mommy's or the restaurant. It's because it's under-seasoned. I'm gonna clean up my mess a little bit. All right, let's melt some lard. And this will be enough to just kind of, not really deep fry, but kind of. It'll be a little bit of lard in the bottom of that skillet, but that's okay because we need it. And if your lard's not Snow White, don't worry about it. Sometimes ours is tan too. All right, let me check comments while we went on this lard to melt. Okay. Oh, I see. Your man's off too, huh? Was it buttermilk and flour? No. It had a stick of butter that I cut into it with the pastry blender. You can make pone bread, I guess, with just buttermilk and flour, but we always put fat in it too. Okay. Now, while this continues to heat, I'm gonna bring my steak over here. And we're just, have you got the hiccups? Sissy got the hiccups. Are you silly? Boo. I'll scare my daddy. She's playing with the puppy dogs. Okay. Now you can do your steak in buttermilk or sweet milk. Today I did sweet milk. And guys, sweet milk is just milk, okay? It's also known as not soured, not clabbered, not cultured. It's just milk. It's just, that's a term that we use for it. So I'm dredging it in the flour. If you want to, you can add a little egg to your milk. I don't usually waste an egg on that. And I didn't over season the flour, so I'm gonna add a little seasoning as I cook it as well. Now let me show you how I tell if my flour is ready. See how it sizzled? It's ready. Bell, no. See? That flour was ready to fry. Or that skillet was ready to fry, sorry. Are you being silly, Sissy? Well, Sissy's over here having a good time. She said she's waiting on her breakfast, guys. It's late this morning. Smells good already in here, guys. Okay, we're gonna pop the biscuits into the oven now. I should have preheated my oven ahead, but your girl rarely does anything the way she's supposed to. One more country fried steak to go. There we go. All right, now I gotta put this over to the side. pop my biscuits into the oven. Guys, it smells like heaven in here already. I got flour all over the place on my hands. Okay. Voila. See how lovely and brown? When you get your skillet at the right temperature before you put it in, you end up better off, guys. So I'm just going to salt everybody. And then we'll put a healthy dose of pepper on it because they like pepper on their country fried steak. And I broke my, if you've been watching, I broke my grandma's pepper grinder, so I'm having to use pre-ground pepper, and it's hurting my feelings every time, but here we are. Everybody has the allergies, except Mr. Perfect doesn't have allergies, which I'm thankful for, because you suffered with them for years. He suffered with allergies. I've never seen anybody have allergies as bad as his. He suffered with them for literally years. Hold on. Not quite. Not quite. Uh-oh. Let's see what's going on here. I'm going to back you up from the stove because generally what happens is I end up getting whipped by my iPhone because it gets too hot. Let's see if we have any questions. Hey, Helen, how are you? Okay. If you have questions, I am looking at the live chat as I'm able. I'm also going to take just a little more pinch of our chicken fry seasoning and put on there. This will be in Mark's upcoming cookbook. He said no, but then I told him he had to because it was requested. If you have a request for something that you've seen us cook or talk about and you want it to be in his cookbook, you got to let him know and I will make it happen. Won't I? I'm driving here. I'm making him. I'm kidding. But I will make him put it in there. The chicken fried steak. You woke up to more snow? Guys, I'm telling you, it's about to bust loose. Look at that beautiful chicken fried steak. My breading's trying to stick a little bit. There we go. So this skillet that I'm using right now is a newer skillet, and I hate it. I'd rather use my grandma. I have a bunch of my granny's Griswolds and their Eries and Wagners, and they are so much better. Nothing sticks to those. I know I just did a no-no. You saw me do it, but it's okay. It'll melt and be just fine. By the time it melts off, it'll be perfect. My breading is soaking up a little more of my lard than usual. And I was telling them the secret to white lard is double filtering. See, that's not going to hurt anything. It's fine. It's not like pouring in a liquid oil. This is a solid, so it has to get really hot to melt, you know. So it doesn't really cool the pan the way pouring in a liquid oil would. Are you having fun, Sissy Pie? Oh, I scraped my breading off, guys. It'll be all right. I hate this skillet, I'm telling you. It don't have to be pretty to eat. But pretty sure don't hurt, does it? All right. Now we're about to pull these out and set them aside. And I'm going to cover them so they don't get cool. And I'm going to leave them sitting on the stovetop so they stay nice and hot. I use these two plates and I turn one over on top of the other so that everything stays nice and hot. Yeah, buddy. There we go. Let me grab. Now I'm going to turn my heat down on the skillet and let it cool for just a minute. And I'm going to scrape loose all these bits. So I'm going to tell you guys something. When you make gravy, the way to make gravy is not to fry sausage and then, I'm going to be sick talking about it. Don't fry sausage and then put flour over top of your sausage and break it up and then pour milk on top of it. That's not proper gravy. Proper gravy happens the way I'm about to show you. I'm going to take these out. I have somebody wanting to eat the crispins. We'll put them back in the gravy if you want them in the gravy, but this is, you get everything as much as you can. You know, you're going to leave a little bit of the crispins. That's okay now. You're going to leave a little bit of the crispins in just like this. Scrape your pan down. If you're frying sausage or making bacon, take it out. Please, for the love of God, take it out. I'm going to show you proper gravy. And once you've had proper gravy, you won't want that old white crap you've had other places. I do not know how many tablespoons of oil are in here or how many tablespoons of self-rising flour that I'm adding. Y'all are going to watch. And you're going to look at the texture of everything and how much it absorbs. That probably is about 3 tablespoons. Let me grab a whisk. Another rat whisk. So now I'm going to look at it. And it needs a little more flour. Just a tiny bit more, not a huge amount. That was probably another tablespoon. Okay, I'm going to turn my heat back up. Do you see how the flour is going tan? I would say in this skillet there was probably 3 or 4 tablespoons of the lard left, and I probably added 3 or 4 tablespoons of self-rising flour. So watch. When I scrape across, this is not runny. It does not look greasy. The flour has clearly absorbed the oil. Or not the oil, the lard. And then I need a pinch of salt in here. And Mark wants it extra peppery.
No, just some black pepper. That's fine.
Here we go. Okay. And you have to stay with gravy. You have to babysit gravy. Okay? You see how it's going brown? I'm basically making a dark roux here. You see? I've got the fat. I've got the flour. It's browning. And I'm going to get it a nice dark color before I pour in my whole fat milk. I promise once you've had this gravy, you will never go back to the other stuff. Your restaurant gravies that are white are not proper gravy. And the stuff you see on Instagram is not proper gravy. Okay, it's dark enough. You see, I'm not burnt, nothing like that. And I'm just gonna pour in my milk. And for that amount, I'm adding about, I don't know, a quarter of a gallon.
We call them quarts in the cities.
Quart. Mark says about a quart of milk, maybe a quart and a half. Okay, and you're looking at it now, and you're probably like, what in the world has she just done? She just ruined her gravy. I promise you, I've made gravy a few times. I didn't ruin it. All that darkened flour is also known as flavor. And you end up, how's my gravy, honey?
It's all right, I guess.
Oh, is it just all right?
It's all right.
He'll eat this whole pan. How was that pizza I made you last night?
It was great, and then I had open face meatloaf sandwich. It was, I don't know
Leftover.
what you did to that. Yeah. Oh my God.
Mommy knows how to cook, don't she?
And the bread and mashed potatoes and meat was just a savory kind instead of the sweet. It was great.
Mama knows what she's doing sometimes. Let's see what we got on here in the live chat. Yes, he's including the chicken seasoning. I'm looking at the live comments now. I promise you, this breakfast is going to be good. I'm going to fry a few eggs, too. I'll get out my skillet. You don't want an egg?
No.
Sis Pie, do you want an egg?
If you're proud.
I'll fry you an egg. So since I'm frying her an egg, do you want an egg?
No.
Do you want me to fry potatoes or anything?
No, I have a gigantic bunch of hamburger fried steak
Or not hamburger, it's just chicken fried steak.
Yeah, chicken fried steak. And gravy it is.
See, this is going to thicken up. I gotta turn down the heat now. It's starting to, the flour's starting to bloom. And as it blooms, it thickens. And you just keep allowing it to simmer until it thickens to your liking. You want to taste the gravy?
I'll taste it, but that ain't thick enough there.
I know it ain't thick enough yet.
No.
Well, I know it's not thick enough yet. I just asked if you wanted to taste it. I'm gonna turn the heat back up so it'll continue to simmer.
It's all right. Who taught you how to do that?
Granny, Mama, Mom, your Mama, everybody and their brother. Who taught you about gravy?
No one.
Is mine as good as Mama's?
I can't answer that question correctly. Hers was just like yours. She would accidentally let it get too brown. She thought working on all these other stuff.
See, it's thickening, guys.
And I liked it good and dark and not spicy, but seasoned well. So.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. So I'm just gonna let this simmer. And you can see it's thickening, see?
It was just like my mama's.
Yeah, buddy. Looks like Mama's. We'll check on the biscuits. They're not done yet. I'm gonna let that simmer for just a second. I may move it to another eye while I fry her an egg. Let me grab another skillet. I'm only using every skillet and ever.
Did you use the cast iron head out?
Yeah, that's the biscuit cast iron.
It sure does fry a good egg.
I know it does fry a good egg. I'm frying a good egg in stainless steel. You can see it. Can you guys see that it's thickening up? You can see around through there. Okay, I'm gonna scoot this over to another eye.
How many eggs?
How many eggs do you want, sis? 2 eggs.
What color?
2 eggs. I'll make Pip Pip an egg too.
Here, green eggs and ham.
Green eggs and ham, huh? It's green eggs and country fried steak today.
If you're gonna fry them some, you can fry one more for the puppies.
Fry one more for the puppies. Let me see here. My phone's not acting right, but so I can't see what I'm showing you. But there's the eggs. Yes, I said eggs with an A. A little hard. Your mom wants something. A little bit of lard in my skillet. Now, I have to tell you guys something. I don't like this as much as I like cast iron because it just doesn't, things tend to stick more to the stainless than they do. I know that sounds crazy. You're probably thinking, I thought cast iron was so hard to fry. No, ma'am, no, sir.
That's the right one.
You get the right cast iron, a good one, a Wagner, a Griswold, you're gonna have, Mark's over here stirring the gravy to keep it from burning. You're gonna have a good skillet. Okay, crack my eggs. Now, I may not be able to get them over easy, Brett, because I'm frying them in this stainless steel instead of cast iron. Oh, that's still fine with you? These babies don't care how they get their eggs. I'm gonna tell you another secret. I don't ever add pepper to fried eggs. I think it makes them stick. Can I have the salt, please? No. So all I ever do when I'm frying eggs is add a little bit of salt. A healthy amount of salt. Remember, unseasoned food's not good. And I also prefer, yeah, buddy, I hate this skillet. I'd about rather wait on a skillet to get done in the oven than to fry in this. What'd you say? Those are not the Griswolds. I'm telling you, a Lodge is not good, and neither is a. I probably shouldn't be saying this stuff.
Now, this is the Griswold here. You're right here, but you should eat it.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know my Griswold. One of my Griswolds was over there.
You're not eating them. They're clean and dry.
And listen, I'm not saying I hate this stainless steel. It has a place. It just ain't frying eggs, guys. You need to fry your eggs in cast iron, because they stick every single time. And this is this is like a $200 skillet. This is an all-clad. It's just not for frying eggs. So it's not that I have a cheap skillet. Y'all are getting Mamaw eggs. This is how Mamaw done. Okay. Also, eggs are a meat, so they continue to cook after you take them off the heat. So they're coming off the heat like this. And I'll bring the gravy back over and show you. Yeah. Thank you. Gravy. That's how you know when it's done. See how it coats that spoon? It's thick. And it's getting a little skim over it. You stir that down in, it'll go back just fine. That's just because it's cooling a little. This is proper gravy. Now, if you have sausage and you insist on adulterating your gravy with it, now is when you would dump the sausage in. We're waiting on the biscuits now. I'll see. Yeah, everybody needs to eat breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. If you eat a good breakfast, you can usually make it through till late lunch, like 3 or 4 o'clock. Okay, let me check on my biscuits. I should have put them on 425 like I was supposed to, but here we are, guys. I wanted them to bake slower, and they did. Oh, they're getting close, though. All right. So how many of you make gravy this way? Let's talk while we wait the next 2 or 3 minutes for these biscuits to get done. So the other secret, just so I can show you, is the eggs are covered. The steak is covered. Helen, you make yours proper? I don't know. I see people on Instagram making gravy, and I just think, good Lord. Somebody go save them from themselves. Oh, yeah. Our biscuits are getting close. They just got a brown on the top now. So when you guys make it, make sure that you go ahead and do the whole 425, even if you're making other things to go with it. I'm going to add more pepper to my gravy, because they take about 10 or 15 minutes on 425. I was just thinking it would take me a little longer to do the steak and make the gravy than it did. Is it okay if things aren't all done at the same time, Mark?
Is it okay, or is it common?
Is it okay? The goal is to have it done all at pretty close to the same time. But it's common for it to be 2 or 3 minutes difference, isn't it? Those biscuits smell so good. Oh, Lord. No misrule.
I mean, other stuff ain't done. Steak and eggs.
White gravy. It's supposed to be tan. You gotta put that in there. It's supposed to be nice and brownish. Now, this is not the way that you make chicken or beef gravy at all. I'm about to put those down in the broiler to get browned. My biscuits ain't browning fast enough to suit me, guys.
You're not only heating up the oven, you're also heating up a large slab of iron. It takes a little longer.
Yeah, it does. All right, we've been live for 50 minutes. I'll go on Instagram and sharing stories when I pull my biscuits out and plate everything up, because it's going to be like another 5 minutes on this. So I'm going to cover the gravy, go off live, check Instagram for the story. I'll show you the whole plate. And be sure to tune in tomorrow at early in the day, probably 10 or 11. I'll put the roast in because tomorrow we're going to have beef roast for dinner. Okay, I'll catch you guys on the flip side.